Yes. So yeah, good morning everyone. My name is Amir and I am delighted to be co-hosting today's session along with Ms. Ria Jain, who is currently working with the Uttarakhand Biodiversity Board. We're also honored to acknowledge the presence of our co-coordinator Dr. C. Ramesh from the ICB Center, Wildlife Institute of India. We thank you for your continued guidance and involvement in today's event, sir. And also warm thank you to Dr. K. Ramesh as well, who is also with sir over there. A warm welcome to all of you who are joining us for this special occasion to celebrate the World Snake Day in 2025. Today's webinar is organized by the EICB Center at Wildlife Institute of India, Dehradun, in collaboration with the Uttarakhand Biodiversity Board. World Snake Day serves as a vital reminder of the ecological importance of snakes and the need to replace fear with awareness. Snakes, snakes, though often misunderstood, are vital for maintaining balance of our ecosystem. We are honored to mark this day with an insightful session that highlights the richness of India's snake diversity and the scientific advancements in this field. It's my great pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Dr. S.R. Ganesh, Director of Research at the Kalinga Foundation, and he's also one of the leading herpetologists of India. Dr. Ganesh holds a PhD in wildlife biology from the University of Madras and has served as a guest postdoctoral fellow with the Andhra Pradesh Forest Department. With deep expertise in systematic herpetology, he has extensively explored the Western and Eastern Ghats, Deccan Plateau, and the Coromandel Coast, he was documenting India's lesser known reptile diversity. His impressive body of work includes co-describing and naming around 20 new species of reptiles and amphibians, publishing over 125 scientific articles and books. He's mentoring students and collaborating with national and international research institutes as well. He's also serving as a reviewer and editorial board member for around 20 scientific journals. In today's session, Dr. Ganesh will share his expertise through a talk titled Recent Developments on the Snake Diversity. So this talk promises to shed light on the latest taxonomic, ecological, and conservation findings related to the India's incredible snake fauna. So before we start, I would like to inform all of our viewers who are watching us on YouTube that we'll be having a question answer session at the end of the talk. So if you have any questions or any suggestions or comments, you can drop them in the chat box and we'll try to take them all one by one at the end of the session. So please join me in extending a warm welcome to Dr. S.R. Ganesh. Uh, Over to you, sir. If Dr. C. Ramesh would be kind enough to say a few words, sir, so that before that we can start off that, sir.
Thanks, Samir, and thanks, Ria. And good morning, everyone. Uh, on behalf of Wildlife Institute of India and EACP Center and the Uttarakhand Biodiversity Board, we would like to invite you all for this wonderful webinar on snakes. And it's nice to interact with you all through this webinar on the snake related information. Today we have with us Dr. S.R. Ganesh, one of the finest herpetologists in India, and he is having extensive knowledge on snakes. And today is going to talk about this wonderful creatures. Although, if you are hearing about the snake, immediately everyone will have a fear about the species. And although more than 300 species are there in India, very few of the snakes only have a venomous in nature, and they are also very shy and they want to away from the human habitation only. Most there are encounters that is inevitable, and we should have the basic information about the snake, and snake related knowledge is very very important. And now let's hear from Dr. S.R. Ganesh. Over to you, Dr. S.R. Ganesh.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Ramesh, and other esteemed faculty members of the Wildlife Institute of India. So I'm very thankful to the organizers at Dehradun for having invited me for this talk. It's good to interact again and catch up with our senior colleagues there. So with this short prelude, I'll like to get into the presentation. We will be looking at a small overview of the current knowledge or the recent developments with regard to the our understanding of the snake diversity in the 21st century. That is from the turn of the year 2000 till now for this 25 or so years, what all have happened with respect to uh, our understanding or knowledge on the naming and classification of Indian snakes is what we would broadly be looking through. So this is just a short recap of uh, what are the what are new species basically, and this would also include some very preliminary information of how we call certain species as new, and what is the importance that we attach to having scientific names that is universally applicable, common, non-changing names which are primarily in Greek and Latin derived formats, that all organisms which are properly described and enter the scientific arena, so to speak, will always be called by. This is one of the means to overcome the various heterogeneities of people using their own native languages and dialects across many parts of the world in different countries, to strike a balance and give a commonality to aid in global international communication regarding species, especially with respect to its conservation. We have these things in place. So, with this short prelude, we will see what all have happened with respect to the India's snake diversity. So, in 1943, a very important book called the Fauna of British India, Serpents, that is in Reptiles, Volume 3, was published by an author, Dr. Malcolm Arthur Smith, which still continues to be one of the major treatises and monographs people would go to for referring about Indian snakes. And till 1999, we have had around 280 known species of snakes in India. Okay, so why am I not giving the exact values of the species dealt with in the 1943 book? That is because back then, the current configuration of our country's international boundaries were a bit different than what they are now. So we take the 1999 work and compilation as an example, and at that time we have had around 280 species of snakes within the political boundaries of India as currently understood. And but as of now, that is as of July 2025, the number is around 364 species, right? And the number of newly described species alone are 62 in numbers. So all these have happened in a span of about 2.5 decades, like 2.5 decades, that is 25 years, which hypothetically equates to around one new snake discovered or described every 2 months, right? That's how volatile and dynamic the, it's very alive and kicking, the field of Indian ophiology with respect to the naming and classification of the Indian snake fauna is growing by leaps and bounds in the recent years. And it also amounts to some 22% of those species known beforehand that has got added on to the Indian snake fauna in the last 25 years. So we are talking about a very sizable number of snakes, not something which is a one-off or an occasional find. Now we will see these things in a sequential order in greater detail. So for the first 9 years, from the year 2000 till 2009, we have had rather few descriptions. So one of the wolf snakes from northeastern parts of India, originally described from the adjacent country. The same goes with one of the green pit vipers that was recorded from parts of northeastern India. Of course, now we have had a change even in that classification, but this is a species which this whole group was described from a part of Indo-Chinese sub-region. And when we talk about within the political boundaries of our country, we have two species from the Western Ghats, a wolf snake that was described from Lower Nilgiris in 2007, and in the same year we have had also a new species of wood snake that was described captain's wood snake that was described from Travancore region or South Kerala region. That was also the case in 2007. And the timeline goes on from 2010 till 2015. Now, this is just about half a decade. We are talking about half a decade time span where we had descriptions of two new species of bronze backs from the Western Ghats, which is the Ashok's bronze back and the Giri's bronze back. Both of them are endemic to the Western Ghats. And we have the Castor's coral snake, which is again from western parts of India, mainly along the western coastal plains and Western Ghats. And we have the Himalayan pit viper, which is from the Sikkim in the northeastern part of country. And we have the Gower shield tail, which is from the eastern Ghats of Tamil Nadu. And we have the yellow-green cat snake, which is again from the eastern Ghats, covering multiple states in the peninsular India. It also inhabits certain parts of drier and leeward slopes of the Western Ghats, but it was originally described from a place which is near much more east in the peninsular India. And then the timeline again goes on. In the next 3 years, 2016, 17, and 18. So in these 3 years alone, we have had six new descriptions. The first one is a shield tail, again from Western Ghats. The second one is a very interesting species, the Gujarat racer, which is found in the northwestern part of India in Gujarat state. And we have Blaithia fang, which is a small semi-fossorial snake related to keelbacks and other aquatic snakes, which is found in parts of northeastern India. And then we have couple of more species of matricids or aquatic snakes, which one is from the Western Ghats and the second one is from the northeast or the Himalayan region. And lastly, Bhupati's shield tail, which is from the Western Ghats here in Tamil Nadu in lower Nilgiris. And in 2019, again the timeline moves on. This time, in just 1 year, we have had seven new species of snakes described from within the country. The Laudankia wine snake, which is found in parts of eastern and central parts of India, in northern reaches of the peninsula, we have this particular species, which is again a new species described recently. And then from the Western Ghats, we have the Thackeray's cat snake found along the Western Ghats. This is again an endemic species to our country. And then we have the Habeas lacrima, which is a keelback, a water snake found in the northeast. And then we have a new genus of wine snake that was described from the extreme southern parts of the Western Ghats. And we have a related water snake, an atricid snake, again from the northeast of India. Trachestium aptais Trachestium, which is again from the northeast of India. This one is from Arunachal Pradesh. And we have another one, Trimeresurus arunachalensis, Arunachal pit viper, which is again from the northeastern part of India. And in 2020, we have the following six species of colubrid snakes. Most of them are the fruition of one of the monographs on the green vine snake. We have Ahydrilla borealis, Farnsworthy, Malabarica, Sahyadrensis, and Travancourica. Basically, the same populations of some of the brown vine snakes and short-nosed vine snakes and the green vine snakes in parts of the Western Ghats, including the Gunther's wine snake, a small subset of populations of these species. Recent integrative taxonomic approaches have revealed a hidden diversity among these species, and that paved way to our recognition of all of them to be different species, which have always been masquerading under the catch-all name Ahydrilla nasuta for so long. So that was the case. And then we have had a description of a wolf snake called the Deccan wolf snake, that is from parts of the Mysore Plateau, which is a subset of the Deccan Plateau. And in 2020, the following eight species are non-colubrid snakes described from our country. Parias kaduri, again, it's a snail-eating snake from the northeast of the country. and we have two species of rhinophis, which are shield-tailed snakes from the Wayanad region of Western Ghats. Rhinophis corinthantini and Rhinophis melanoleucus. And we have the Arunachal rain snake, Smithopis arunachalensis, again was described from the northeast of the country. And we have the David's green pit viper, which is one of the endemic species found in the Nicobar Islands in India. And we have Trimeresurus salazar, which is the Salazar pit viper. Previously, these populations were confused with Trimeresurus albolabris, and now we have new updates on their naming and classification. This species was also described from northeastern parts of our country, and we have the Rajendran shield tail, which is from the eastern Ghats in Tamil Nadu, and we have Xylophis mosaicus, the mosaic wood snake or the Anamalai wood snake that was described from Munar, Rajamala, Erevikulam, and the Palni Hills, the Anamalai mountains in the higher elevations. So in 2021, we have had the following species of boiga and two species of pit vipers, which were previously considered as parts of the Malabar pit viper and the large-scale green pit viper. An integrated taxonomic approach analysis revealed that these populations that are found in the extreme southern part of the Western Ghats um, were not conspecific with populations that are present elsewhere, which prompted us to give new names to both these populations. And then we had a very interesting finding of Joseph's racer, Platyceps josephi, that was described from the Park Strait and Coromandel Coast and elsewhere in the dry zone of the Tamil Nadu in the far south. So that is also, it was long considered as a subset of populations of the much more widespread racer snake, what we call a banded racer, and then newer investigations revealed that it is a different species which got named as Joseph's racer. And then we have the description of Rhabdophis pindi, that was from the Himalayan region, which is one of the rear-fanged keelback water snakes of our country. And then you have this Tolischia, one of the odd-scaled snake, or the Lushai Hills dragon snake. This is again from the northeast of the country. And we have Europeltis jordani, which is found in Tumkur and in inland tracts of Karnataka in southern India. That's a shield-tailed snake. And we have Xylophis deepaki, or Deepak's wood snake, that is found in the Kanyakumari hills of Tamil Nadu. That's also one of the new species that is recently described. And in the next couple of years, in the timeline which is 2022 and 23, we have Gloideus chumbensis. That's one of the species that was described. It's related to the Himalayan pit viper. And we have the Herpetorius merlin, which is one of the keelbacks that is found in the northeast of India. And we have Tilak's kukri, found in parts of western parts of peninsula. And we have Maya spit viper, Trimeresurus mayae, which is now the revised name and classification, that recalling one of our earlier slides which talks about grumpet tree. So that population is now get to be called by this particular name. This is again from northeast India. And coming to the Western Ghats, we have a keelback. A new genus was described called Sahyadriopis, and the northern Western Ghats population of the Bedom scaleback was recognized as a different species, and it was given a name Uttaragati. And we have new records of the Uet spit viper from the northeast of the country, and we have a new description of a shield tail called Europeltis tricuspida, which is from the southern Western Ghats. And in recent years, in 2024, we had a new description of Ahetullah longirostris. This is one of the green vine snake, a long-nosed species of green vine snake, which is from northern and eastern parts of India, I think Bihar and Meghalaya. And we have a new genus of snake that was described from the Shivalik ranges, Anguiculus dicaprioi. That was also, it is related to the reed snakes or the striped neck snakes of our country. And then we have the iconic new finding of the Western Ghats king cobra, Ophiopagus kalinga, from the Agumbe region, which is the type locality that is endemic to the Western Ghats. This, I may add that this was one of the major focal species of the organization where I work, and we also have Mizoram's rain snake, which was described from the northeast of India again. And we have no depth of a steady flow of influx with new species of shield tails. One of the genus Pterotrus, which is called the dwarf shield tail, it's rather small even for shield tails. So in that genus, we have had four new species that was described, all endemic to small hill ranges in the Western Ghats. And we have the recent description of Europeltis caudomaculata, or the tail spot shield tail, that is again from the southern Western Ghats. So this gives a breakup for all these new species of snakes that we detailedly looked up. Europal today or shield-tailed snakes stands the second, and most are of course the colubrids or the typical snakes, quote unquote. And we also had a good number of the natricids or the keelbacks and water snakes, followed by vipers, mainly pit vipers, and then the parietes or the snail eaters and wood snakes, and lastly, two new species of the coral snakes. Here is a geographic breakup. So, from the Western Ghats, we have had 29 new species, which is kind of the top in the list. The second is the Northeast and the Himalayan subregion, which has around 23 species, and then the Deccan or the Eastern Ghats put together, they form home to the six new species, and the Coromandel Coast with two new species, and the Andaman Nicobar Islands one, and the Thar Desert or the Run of Kutch in one. And the habitats that has been indicated in the bracket is one of the most dominant habitat types in those particular subregions, to give an idea of where all these kinds of new species of snakes have been found. So these were some of the major underlying principles with respect to these new findings. Largely, they operate with geographic isolations, and which was one of the key factors that generated or was the causal uh, feature for this incipient radiation or evolutionary diversification. And they operate at multiple scales. For example, if we take the Western Ghats as one of the examples to understand this issue, we have species where there is one endemic species, for example, the Ophiopagus kalinga, the Western Ghats king cobra, which is found throughout parts of the central and southern parts of the range. And this is one of the macro scale diversification pattern. On the other end of the spectrum lies genus like the Pterotrus or the dwarf shield tail, where we have an in situ diversification at a very micro scale, where we have multiple species all packed up in different mountain ranges, often separated by geographic barriers like the gaps. So the type localities of most of the new species of snake that we have been dealing with in the previous slides are distributed this way. Because I work mainly in the southern part of India, I am illustrating this with examples from the southern part of the country, where we have the Western Ghats and the Coromandel coastal plains and the Eastern Ghats as some of the major ecoregions, and also parts of Deccan Plateau. Yes. So this will give us some information about how the morphological boundaries of some of the species groups have changed, while also giving rise to the revised understanding or new descriptions of some of the snakes. We have examples from several snake families, including colubrids, as well as elapids, as well as europeltids, as well as natricids, as well as viperids. These are more or less the major snake families that we have been dealing with. And in all these snake families, we have had this pattern of revised understanding of morphology and geographic boundaries of some of the known species, which were kind of giving way for us to recognize the presence of new species. So this amply illustrates what are the genera that we dealt with, and the same with the this slide presenting our work on vine snakes, and a few of them are totally unknown new species, which have never been known under an obsolete name earlier. Some of those findings are the Arunachal pit viper or the Gujarat's racer, which is a rather rare phenomenon to come by, and they deserve very special mention in this presentation. So, recent tools and practices are majorly with respect to the DNA barcoding and a much deeper investigation on morphology with a greater data set of museum specimens. Also, an important contributing factor is the fieldwork in remote forests. So, I thank the WIA team for giving me the opportunity, and I'll be happy to take questions if any. Thank you.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for this truly fascinating and insightful presentation. So, we're now the floor is open for the question and answer session. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat box. So, let me just go and quickly see if we have any questions. Then we can move ahead. So, as of now, there are no questions in the chat box. So, let me start with my own question, sir. If that is okay.
Please.
So, I'll put it in. I'll put it on the display, sir. Yeah. Can you see it now?
Yes. So, Western Ghats and Northeast India appear as biodiversity hotspot for snake discovery. What makes these regions so unique? Okay, I would like to add 2 points. One, this pattern is not something unique only to snakes. In fact, that has been the case with a lot of taxonomic groups, right from plants to several kinds of animals, including both invertebrates and vertebrates, which also include snakes. So I think a lot of factors have contributed to them being highly biodiverse. One of the major features is the presence of tropical evergreen rainforests in contemporaneous landscapes. Like current day presence of rainforests is one of the important factors which unite the three biodiversity hotspots in our country. The third one being the Andaman Nicobar Islands. So the major climax vegetation type of all these three ecoregions are basically evergreen rainforest, which as we all know, as one of the most biodiverse habitats in the world, comparable only to say the coral reef ecosystem in marine landscapes. So that would be one of the reasons why we have a high amount of biodiversity completely packed up in these three ecoregions. And snakes also tend to follow the pattern, right? That's what I think would be the answer for that.
Sure, sir. Wonderful. So, we have a question from Nematullah Sheikh. So I'm putting it on display. How to differentiate venomous and non-venomous snakes?
Okay, how to differentiate between venomous and non-venomous snakes? This is actually a question which requires a large answer, but I would tell rather theoretical. When I say theoretical, I would rather suggest this as a very impractically theoretical answer, which is a one-line answer for this is we have to
Okay.
look at the dentition of the snake. If we have front fangs in on the upper jaws of the snake, then the snake we are looking at is a venomous snake,
Venomous
right?
snake.
If we have rear fangs, which is at the very posterior edge of the upper jaw, then those kinds of snakes are the mildly venomous or semi-venomous snakes. If we do not have fangs, and if it's just normal teeth which are present throughout the both the upper and lower jaws, the usual teeth which most of the snakes have, then that is a non-venomous snake.
Yeah.
So dentition is the single character which will give us answer for if the snake in question is venomous or a mildly venomous or a non-venomous snake. And why is this theoretical? Because in all reasons and rationals, we would never advocate any person to approach a snake, especially to do anything with the mouth or teeth, because that's exactly the place where we do not want to go close at all. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Wonderful. Thank you, sir. This is another question. I'm putting it on screen.
Please.
Yes.
Is there any species differentiation in
Yes.
central Indian wine snake and northern western Ghats or down south? Yes, I think this was dealt with in one of the slides. In northern Western Ghats, we had a new description of one of the snakes called Ahetullah borealis. Boreal is in allusion to the northern distribution of these snakes within the Western Ghats ecoregion. But in central India, I think what we have is largely Ahetullah oxyrenca, or the sharp-nosed vine snake. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So this is another question. Yeah. Can you elaborate on the concept of cricket species and why they are significant in Indian snake taxonomy?
Okay, concept of cryptic species is what we have come to understand now is the fact that two species can afford to be morphologically irrecognizable, which is like completely similar looking in their external body form and appearance, and still be genetically highly divergent, which is revealed by genetic analysis. And how is this practically possible? Because in most of these cases, they are allopatric in distribution, which means they are non-overlapping in their distribution range. That translates to when two species do not co-occur at all, then they can afford to look the same and still remain as two different species because morphological differentiation comes into place or scope only when there is a chance for species A and species B to cross path with one another.
Mm,
That is
yes.
that is one of the places where there is a necessity for morphological variations to happen. So the more we understand about the distribution of a species, the more we come to recognize the cryptic diversity of the species, which is of course revealed to us by utilizing modern technologies like DNA farming.
Thank you, sir. So this I wanted this question to ask you. So are there still any major gaps in Indian snake diversity knowledge where the researchers could focus for their
Yes,
research?
yes, yes, very much. So I think we still have a lot of new species of snakes coming up, and think as I am talking, I am sure that there are many scientists in India, including in our esteemed institute WII, who are working on new projects on snakes, their diversity, their taxonomy, their nomenclature, and so forth. And we have premier organizations like the ZSI, like SACON, and like the Indian Institute of Science, the Center for Ecological Sciences, and a lot of other organizations like BNHS. So we have had a very steady stream of studies from many of these organizations. I have just named a few for sample. Of course, there are
Yes, yes.
a number of other
Plenty,
organizations
yes.
who have had a very good contribution to our knowledge of Indian snakes, which I just summarized, being
Yes.
one of the scientists involved in that deep branch of science. I just summarized a common platform with the work of all the scientists put together, and we do have a lot of scope. So it's a very encouraging prospects for current scholars and students of herpetology. This is one of the important arenas where they can pitch in and contribute to further growth in our knowledge on
Good.
Indian snakes.
Sure. Wonderful, sir. So there is another question from Rashmi Kumari. She's asking how many endemic snakes varieties in India?
How many endemic snake species are there in India?
Um,
I should admit that I don't have a ready reckoner answer, but I would
okay.
encourage the scholar to check in the websites of the Zoological Survey of India, who have come up with compilations mentioning the number of endemic species from various ecoregions. So the diversity and also the endemism will be rather high in the Western Ghats as well as the northeastern parts of India. Yes, and we also have compilations from this IndianSnakes.org. They are also one of the major players in the field who always compile and give up-to-date regional checklists of the country, which is also a very important ready reckoner information for those who wanted to get idea about contemporaneous snake diversity. Yes. How can we make public more excited about lesser known species, not just the big four? Right. People are so so absorbed into Big Four, not because of their charisma and charm, more because of the fact that they are medically important snakes. So these
Mm.
are very widespread front-fanged venomous snakes belonging to the families Viperidae and Elapidae, found across length and breadth of the country, which is the reason why perhaps they have had a larger share of attention. But when it comes to research on snakes, prioritizing and focusing these snakes more than a human perspective, then I think lesser known species should be the one which should grab the stage. So that should get the attention, both in terms of conservation funding as well as sanctions of projects, so that we bridge the gap between the knowledge of some of those charismatic species as well as the obscure or little known species. Yes,
Okay. So I'll take one last question. Uh,
please.
yes. Do we have any organizations or tribes which are working with the snake venom in India?
Yes, yes. On snake venom, in fact, the one place where snake venom extraction happens in our country is the one near Chennai, in a place called this Irla Cooperative Snake Venom Extraction Center. Right. So that is run by world-renowned experts on snakes, who are the Irula tribe people. They are the people who look at the signs, look at the secondary evidences, look at the shed skins, look at the tracks that the snake leave as it goes in the habitat, and they have the kind of understanding about the activities and movement patterns of snakes like no other, right? Whatever
Yeah.
research we do or number of books that we read, right, actual direct interaction with members of this community have been of a very good use and knowledge sharing to us from my own living experience of having interacted. I have had the fortune of interacting with many of these members of this community, and I'll ever remain grateful to them. So yes, we have these snake experts in our country, the Irula tribes, who also were recently recognized by our government with awards and medals.
Wonderful, sir. Before we
So, want to
end,
add something here? Sorry for the interruption.
please,
I have
please.
visited the Irula tribe and I have seen how they extract the venom. Actually, they are working with the access and benefit sharing for the country, and I think they are only the tribe who are working for the um, access and benefit sharing for venomous extractions. And
Yes.
few of know them, like Irula is very not very common from across India, but Tamil Nadu peoples know that thing, and working people who are expertise in snake, they knows that thing. So thank you for the information, sir.
Welcome.
So before we end, sir, let's look at this question. So I put it on. So please give some
Okay.
examples of exotic species of snakes in India.
Exotic species of snakes in India. Hmm.
Yeah.
This is something we are a little concerned about, because in the interest of the welfare of our own indigenous and native species, it is the best thing is not to have any exotic animals in our country when we have so much of our own country, fauna to protect and mind and care for and to
Yeah.
study, right? That should be the best take.
Priority.
But
Yeah, that
I
should be the
think we
priority.
have had a certain cases, especially in zoos and
Yeah.
a few of the serpentariums in India, where for public awareness and education purposes, a few exotic species, mostly the ball python and the anacondas and other such non-venomous snakes, maybe some of the gopher snakes or snakes which are found in other countries and other continents, were kept. Yeah.
Wonderful,
And
sir.
I have a small point to add to the previous thing what our Jane ma'am was discussing. Um, yes, it is a truth that the Irla Cooperative Society is the one place where we have venom extraction, a snake venom extraction center that is currently operational in the country. And we also have a good amount of scholarship over the recent years, which suggest the presence of a lot of regional variations in the venom compositions of many snake species. suggesting that it's high time to decentralize the snake venom extraction and antivenom preparation to several states regionally across the length of breadth of the country, one in the north, one in the west, in the east and central India, and so forth, to get the best sample of snake venoms occurring in that particular region, which would best address the problems of unfortunate cases of human snake bites. Yeah. Is it true that snakes lose legs at the time of evolution? Oh, yes, yes. Snakes are very close sister organisms to lizards, and some of the species of lizards, like the skinks, for example, and even more so are the limbless lizards, are very, very morphologically close to snakes, and they are genetically related also. As per our current understanding, among the living species of snakes, some of the earliest of the ancestral species of snakes were the worm snakes and blind snakes. So they were one of the primitive forms of snakes which evolved. And it is true that snakes and lizards are very much related. Both of them come under one order of living reptiles called the squamata, squamate reptiles, which includes the lizards called the saurians and the
Yeah.
snakes known as the serpents. Yes, that is the truth.
Yeah. So since you were saying something about the regional cooperation, so I'll just one more question from my side, sir. Sorry, huh?
Please.
I'm- this,
Sure, sir. Please go on.
yeah, yeah. So I've just put it on the screen.
Many discoveries seem to result from collaboration. How important is international and interinstitutional cooperation in your field? It's very important. I think the role of collaboration can hardly be overstated. Right? It's a very important thing, and it's always a win-win situation for all the team members involved.
Exactly.
Um,
Yes. Involved. Yeah.
where because the history of Indian snake studies is like this, where in the late 18th century and in the early part and mid part of the 19th century, throughout the 19th century, we have had a fair share of people from other countries who were mainly asking and addressing these questions about biodiversity explorations and documentations, right? A lot of people from European nations were the ones who were responsible for this, and understandably, most of the specimens which they studied and they collected and they examined, based on which their notes and publications were written, are all currently lodged in museums in the same countries in Europe and in other parts of the western parts of the world. Therefore, for us Indians to better understand uh, the exact population, what those scientists were investigating, it's only logical for us to think that yes, we need to network and join hands with
Yeah.
those scientists who are now currently in charge for those museums. And in many places, we will have very welcoming gesture of them equally getting fascinated about further studies on snakes. So that is one of the features why collaborations are important. They would also be very glad to network with Indian scientists, and we have the whole process is streamlined by our government and organizations like the National Biodiversity Authority (NBA), whom we all approach for getting the necessary clearances, and then we network with such scientists abroad and go ahead and work with collaborative manner. Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. So I will now request Ria, please proceed with the vote of thanks, if you could, please. Yes.
Sir, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to you for sharing your expertise and in enlightening all of us, like our organizations, our viewers, our participants, and I would like to thank Dr. R. Ramesh, C Coordinator, EIACP Center, WII, as well Amir Lone, sir, for his contribution. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, participants, for participating in the event and making it a success. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was nice meeting you, sir. I will like to be in touch in future as well, sir.
Sure.
See you, sir.
My pleasure. I
Thank you.
record my thanks to WIA and Invest team as well. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ria. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. All the best, guys, and stay safe.